Hey everyone, it's Nathan and welcome to Hail. This video has been a long time coming. I purposely haven't released it because I haven't seen all the movies that I wanted to see in order to make this video, but now I feel completely confident in the list that I will be presenting to you guys, and I hope that you enjoy it. I, of course, am talking about my top 10 favorite movies from the year 2020. We're not too late in the year. The Oscars haven't happened yet, so I feel like I can cut myself a little slack.
There's something shiny in your eye.
Oh no, is it really? It's glitter. Where?
I don't know, like you moved and I just saw it. Oh, there it is. There.
Did I get it?
Move again.
It's glitter.
Like this. Yeah, I think it's gone.
Okay, cool.
Bye!
Bye! But it's always fun talking about my favorite movies of the year, so better late than never, right? Okay, so coming in at number 10, I have The Vast of Night. As a massive fan of The Twilight Zone, this movie worked so well for me. The budget might be a little low, but the quality is very high. I was especially impressed with the acting, particularly in the long take scenes. Yes, these are definitely no-named actors, but they carry every scene that they're in. To me, it felt like it was a Twilight Zone episode that was adapted from H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. At number 9, I have Nomadland. On first impression, I actually found Nomadland to be a slower-paced film that was oddly entertaining. Actually, I don't think entertaining is the right word. I think it's more oddly realistic or relatable. Fern is just such an adorable character. Like, her happiness, the things that make her happy in this movie, they make me happy as I'm watching it. Her confidence and her whole entire character, her stubbornness, all that fun stuff, it really has a big impact on the story and the progression of the story as well. And I just really liked watching her story. In fact, there was one scene in particular that really just made me fall in love with her. It's such a simple scene. She's just out in the open and she screams her name at the top of her lungs, and it was just so adorable to watch. It was little moments like these that really made Nomadland work for me. Number 8, I have Hamilton. Is this really a movie? Today I say yes. I mean, it was nominated for 2 Golden Globes in the movie categories, and it has an official content rating, and so because of that, I consider it a movie. Plus, I'm including the Lamb of God concert film in my 2021 list. I really enjoyed this. I watched it with my friends this past July. I think it was actually the day that it was released on Disney+, and it's just a well put together Broadway play. I mean, the music is really catchy. If I were to choose some favorite songs, it would probably be That Would Be Enough, You'll Be Back, and Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Your Story. Even if the movie itself is not rewatchable, the songs are re-listenable. English. At number 7, I have News of the World. One of the nominations for this movie is Best Original Score at the Oscars, and I wholeheartedly agree with that nomination. I've had this album on repeat since before the nominations for the Oscars even came out. It's just an enjoyable score, and it's an enjoyable movie as well. In fact, Tom Hanks really is just one of my favorite movie actors of all time. When I heard about News of the World, my sole purpose in seeing it was Tom Hanks. That and also Paul Greengrass in the director's chair. Now, speaking of Paul Greengrass, I think that he's really good at making intense scenes. He's known for his filmography in the Bourne films as well as Captain Phillips. There are some suspenseful scenes in News of the World as well, and when those scenes were happening, it just felt so right that Paul Greengrass was the one directing it. Helena Zengel, hope I'm pronouncing that right, the one who plays Joanna, she did really well in her performance, and I definitely see her going places. I think my only gripe with the movie is that it feels like the end drags on a little bit too long. I was ready for it to end about 20 minutes before it actually ended. Number 6, I have Wolfwalkers. This was a movie that I was anticipating the day I found out that it was announced, because Cartoon Saloon just has such a good reputation with making animated movies. They remind me of the film studio Laika, where they just release a lot of good content, but they're still a little bit more underrated than other big name studios like DreamWorks, Disney, Pixar. This movie was well worth the wait though. I actually watched it with my little sister, and so if there's any bias going into this movie, it's that it's a movie I watched with my little sister, and so I love it for that. The story at times is similar to Song of the Sea, particularly with the parent figure not listening to his child, but there are also a lot of neat shots that reminded me of Song of the Sea. The animation, the film score also reminded me of Song of the Sea. It really, in a lot of ways, reminds me of Song of the Sea, if you couldn't catch on to that, but at the same time, it's its own original story. It's its own original movie. I liked particularly any scene that was in the perspective of the wolves. I thought that was done very well, and overall, it's probably my second favorite film from this film studio. My Brother Jordan is a movie that came as a recommendation to me from my friend Jackson. You've seen him on the channel before, but I want to throw a little shout out to him for recommending this movie because I really enjoyed it. It is a documentary that can be found on YouTube, the whole hour and 3-minute documentary. It's about Justin and him explaining why he loves his brother Jordan, who unfortunately unfortunately passed away. But not only does Justin talk about how much he loves his brother, everyone who is impacted by Jordan has a say in this documentary. As you could imagine, it's a very sad documentary. It's a little hard to get through, but I knew going into it that it would be especially personal for me, seeing as how I've also lost a sibling who I love a lot. As I was watching it, I really liked some of the things that they said, and I could relate to a lot of it as well. They talk about how with time, anything can heal, and that's true to a certain extent. Yes, it gets easier after losing a loved one that's so close to you, but at the same time, you never truly get over losing a loved one. And I think that this documentary really portrayed that in a good way. At times, as they were explaining Jordan and how he was just this guy that everyone loved, it reminded me of my little sister. She was someone that everyone loved. At number 4, I have Boys State, which was my number 1 movie of the year up until I saw what movie made my number 3 slot on this list. Now, Boys State is a great documentary. From the first trailer, I was incredibly intrigued with this movie. I think it intrigued me because I was actually invited to go to Boys State in high school. I wasn't able to go because my family had already planned a vacation during that summer week. However, from what I understand, my friends who did go to Boys State, they say that this documentary was incredibly accurate. Boys State is full of a ton of boys who are basically in this summer camp for a week long. They learn about Congress, they learn about politics, and of course, there's going to be some idiotic boys, a lot of stupid boys, honestly, but also some downright geniuses. There are a few boys particularly that had my attention as I was watching the documentary. Steven and Renee are ones that are absolute beasts. They had a lot going against them, but they held their positions and they were very strong throughout the week. Robert is honestly kind of an idiot, but I also at the same time looked forward to every scene that he would be in because he's just so funny to me. And it's an emotional documentary too. You get so attached to these characters, to these people, that you want to know what happens to them. You want what's best for them. I really enjoyed this documentary. I hope you haven't gotten tired of me talking about documentaries quite yet, because at number 3, I have Dick Johnson Is Dead. I've never met Dick Johnson in my life, but kind of like what my brother Jordan did to me, I felt like I knew this character, Dick Johnson. Both documentaries did this very well. I'm gonna be honest, the documentary had me crying 25 minutes into it.
And I cried again at the end.
I don't know what it is, but when I see old people crying, it makes me so sad for them. I could have definitely also been a little bit more emotional because I had COVID when I saw this documentary for the first time, so maybe I was like, a little excessively emotional. Regardless of whether or not I had this worldwide deadly pandemic, it was an enjoyable documentary that was seriously snubbed at the Oscars. Both this and Boys State. Incredibly snubbed, and I'm still very bitter about it. Dick Johnson Is Dead has a pretty far out plot, and I feel really dumb when I'm explaining it to someone, when I'm trying to recommend someone watch it. And so if the plot is what is preventing you from watching it, just ignore it and just turn it on. Just watch it. Hopefully you'll be able to enjoy it and fall in love with Dick Johnson the way I did. Don't let the Oscar snub be the reason that you don't watch it. I know that when Oscar nominations come out, I kind of have this mindset of, okay, I'm only gonna watch the nominated films. This movie didn't get nominated, so it probably isn't worth my time. But don't let that be the case with Boys State and Dick Johnson Is Dead, because both of these are amazing documentaries, amongst my favorite of all time. And speaking of me being sad with old people, at number 2, I have The Father. Anthony Hopkins not only gave what I would consider to be my favorite performance of his in his whole career, and yes, I've seen The Silence of the Lambs, but he also gave one of my new favorite performances of all time with any actor. Seeing him cry, man, it really got me, because the idea of getting old is just so sad. Watching Anthony Hopkins' character, Anthony is actually his name, just fail each day more and more progressively, his mindset gets worse. It's just really sad, and I love the way that this movie presented having Alzheimer's, forgetting things, losing your mind slowly. They do it in a way where it's as if you are Anthony. You are also losing your mind. For that, I believe that this movie deserves the Oscar for Best Film Editing. I don't know that it will get it, but I really hope that it does. Oddly enough, out of all the Best Picture nominees, this is actually my favorite movie as well. I think Nomadland will win it, which I'm okay with because obviously I liked Nomadland, but if I could choose, if it was an ideal Nathan's world, then The Father would win it. Also, fun little fact, I traveled an hour away to see The Father, and it was totally worth the drive. But coming in as my number 1 favorite movie of 2020, it goes to Soul. When I went into Soul, I didn't think that any movie could beat Dick Johnson Is Dead, because at the time, Dick Johnson Is Dead was my number 1 movie of the year. However, Soul not only became my number 1 movie of the year, it became one of my favorite movies of all time. And I know that I definitely just said if this was a perfect Nathan Hale world that I would choose The Father to win Best Picture, but if this was a perfect world, Soul would have been nominated for Best Picture and it would have won Best Picture. I'm just saying. But even the nomination for Best Picture would have been great. They had 2 slots to fill. They could have nominated it. I really wish it would have gotten the nomination. I know a lot of people who watched Soul and they came out of it thinking that it was a little overrated. For what it's worth, if I could explain my position on it a little bit, the reason I loved Soul as much as I did is because of the themes to it. I love the whole entire idea of choosing to live. You're not ready to come and be born in this earth life until you have decided that you're ready. That whole entire message is just really impactful to me. And when a movie moves me enough to where it changes my lifestyle and my thought process, you know that it's doing its job. I'm not going to say too much more about Soul because I have a video coming out soon where I rank all of Pete Docter's filmography, and Soul will be in that video. So that's all I will say at this time. But if nothing else, know that I absolutely love Soul. And if you haven't seen it, definitely watch it, please. At the end of each year, I love to describe the year in one sentence. If I were to describe the year 2020 in a sentence, I would say it was the year of great documentaries. Because not only did I have 3 documentaries in my top 10, I had them in my top 5. I loved the documentaries that I saw this year, and there's still more that I need to see. And I also like to give an average rating for the year. What I do is I take all the ratings I gave to movies and I take an average of all of them. I saw a total of 37 movies, I think, this year, and when I take an average of them out of 10, I end up with a 6.59 out of 10. So not the greatest year for movies, however, the ones that I liked, I really liked. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for checking out my top 10 favorite movies of 2020. I would love to hear your lists, although you released them 3 months ago, but I would still love to hear about them, what your thoughts were on the year 2020. Leave them in the comments below, and I hope you have a great day.